Ahoy, fellow Temple Raiders!
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, an encoded podcast exploring the transparency sliders and birthmarks of Star Trek, all of it. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And hazing the ensign is your chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the showers of Star Trek to find the subcellular residue in every floor grade and the excellence in every episode.
Even the dismissive Vulcans.
Because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So ignore a woman's medical concerns and join us as we beam into
The Joy of Trek. Oh, yes.
Did you guess which one we're doing, listeners at home?
Oh, well, it is right. We are doing Enterprise, Season 2, Episode 10, Vanishing Point, not the Vanishing Point. They do say that women over a certain age become invisible, but I don't think that Hoshi is quite there yet. Not quite. In fact, I think she very much is not there, quite there yet.
Oh,
Not
very
even close.
good. Not quite there yet.
Yeah,
I like that.
See that? Yeah.
I like that. And in this episode of Star Trek, which some of us maybe didn't totally remember, what would you say happened, Kay?
Ensign Hoshi suffers a severe form of sleep paralysis.
Yikes. Wow, that's actually way more horrifying than the episode itself.
I know, right?
Chief, can you inform the listeners at home what we've just been watching and what they'll be hearing us discussing, except smoother than I've been doing right now?
Following her first experience with the transporter, an eerie series of events makes Hoshi thinks she is becoming invisible to the rest of the crew.
Which was released on?
First aired on November 27th, 2002.
And written by
Rick Berman and Brannon Braga and directed by David Straiton.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, the script was copied incorrectly by
Right.
someone who need not be named, so we just need a little bit of extra help.
I was wondering. I was missing like stuff in there as well. Like
we have a script that we use, and it's always very well prepared by our chief, and then sometimes there's little oopsies, and one of us maybe doesn't pay complete attention, and then the other ones did, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe he did, and we're just ignoring it.
Oh, that would be bad.
It'd be on brand for this episode, right? Hey, Kay.
Yes.
I think this is an episode where we can very genuinely eject the warp core.
I said we eject the warp core!
In the way it was originally intended.
Oh, yeah?
Because actually, nothing happens.
Correct. Nothing.
Right?
Absolutely nothing happens.
We watch a whole lot of episode and nothing happens, which I can imagine is like a point of criticism that some people have leveled at it, but like that's kind of just how it is.
Yes, I mean, literally speaking, it's like nothing happens. They're on the planet. They start a storm, so they can't take the shuttle back, and they decide to beam over instead. And Hoshi is stuck in the pattern buffer for 8 seconds, and that's the whole episode. I mean, I should have totally gone with that. That would have been. I mean, that's literally the only thing that happens. The rest is hallucinated by Hoshi.
Yes, exactly. We spend 45 minutes watching someone have an 8.5-second nap.
Yes. Well, it's essentially yes.
And it was all a dream, which I wonder, is that something that came up in the reviews?
The reviews were a bit of a mixed bag, although generally they tended to be more positive.
Really?
Jamal from Jammer's Reviews gave it 3.5 out of 4 and called it creepy and psychologically compelling, with enough carefully navigated plot manipulations to keep you guessing.
Excellent.
Erica Green of Trek Nation found it too predictable and not enough plot for a main storyline.
All right.
Digital Fix was compared to the Next Generation episode, The Next Phase, which also explored the results of a transporter accident and complained about the lack of originality. These stories have been done before.
Which is fair, and I think in Voyager Coda, there was also similarly a phasing incident. I think in the Next Phase, it was famously Ensign Rowe and Geordi.
I think so too, yeah.
Who therefore got to attend their own funerals.
Yeah, so then the Star Trek The Complete Manual published it and listed it as the 4th worst episode of the whole series.
Whoa.
But Den of Geek ranks it as the 12th scariest episode of all Star Trek.
Yeah, okay.
So, mixed bag, the reviews.
Yeah, well, you get that with the sort of... I mean, this is a middle-of-the-road episode, right?
Yeah.
It's not on very many people's worst lists.
No.
Because it's so forgettable that I literally forgot it.
Right, but it's very much a like it or hate it episode, it seems.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it middle of the road, yes. But if you get two very extreme viewpoints, then yes, on average, it's like in the middle. But it's, yeah.
Well, I bet I know someone who did love it more than anyone else.
Who recommended this to us?
Vanishing Point, Enterprise Season 2, Episode 10 was recommended by Lauren Alexis Rivers, friend of the show Lauren, hello there, who said,
I always thought that Hoshi was such an underused character. In an era before the Universal Translator had worked out all the kinks, communication was one of the most important elements. And this was one of the Hoshi-centric episodes, where, while she didn't get to show off her communication skills, it was about facing her fears of the transporter and doing what she had to do no matter what the circumstances. As someone of Asian descent, it was always important to me to see people like myself on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Lauren. As someone of Asian descent myself, I always delight in seeing, people like me
yes.
on the screen as well. And speaking of being of Asian descent, because the actor who played Hoshi Sato is, I think, of Korean descent, and she's playing, I think, a Japanese descended character.
Okay.
Because, in Star Trek, it's, whatever.
Asian, yes.
Yeah.
Has there been racism? Been a lot of racism accusations in Star Trek. Have there been? I mean,
No, but,
the original series was famously diverse.
Yes, but that was also a case where George Takei is of Japanese descent, and he played a character specifically of Japanese-Filipino descent.
Right.
Which initially he was a little bit worried about. And like John Cho, also of Korean descent, was cast as Sulu in the Kelvinverse films. He famously even spoke with George Takei beforehand, like, should I accept this role? Am I just an Asian or whatever? And Sulu says, yeah, the money's great. And also, we're out there being Asian, right?
Yeah.
It's a future where that kind of doesn't matter. And unlike whitewashing, where it's very common for Caucasian actors to take roles that really ought to be for other people's actors, right. It's not the same
Fair.
kind of competition.
You have to be less worried. Like, okay, it's a start, I guess.
And very delightfully, Hoshi's father, who should be Japanese as she is also played by a Korean actor, Korean-Canadian, I should say, Keone Young. There's a special note in the script for this episode, which the chief wrote for us, and he says, Keone Young as Mr. Sato. He's also Jun Sato from Star Wars Rebels, Kaki. If you don't remember him, I will jettison this podcast right now. Which
Choose your next words very carefully.
Which I absolutely did recognize, even in prep, just the name, because he previously also played a holographic slightly magic version of Buck Bokai, a future baseball player in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for that recommendation, Lauren. And shall we warp into the episode?
Yes, let's go in. Okay, we opened with Trip and Hoshi on the planet, and they are exploring ruins. It's a bit of a mixed bag, because it goes all the way between cave paintings and stone-hewn archways and portals. So I guess that makes sense. Like, it could be like, if it's a holy site, then it might have been a holy site for a very long time in that culture.
Yeah.
And that they've actually moved all the way from cave paintings to masonry.
Oh, yeah, good point. I'm sort of reminded of the famous, Chief, you know the name, the Caves of...
Okay, just because there's a little bit of conflating of a couple different caves here. So we have the Chevet Caves, which is closed to the public entirely because we learn from what happens if you let people in from the Altamira Caves as well as the Lascaux Caves. The Lascaux Caves are the one with a bunch of the replicas, including a replica that travels around, but that one has been damaged by people going in and mold growing over these paintings. So it gets a little complicated because they get muddled when you start talking about one of them. The others start bleeding into it as well.
Which have paintings, spanning at least 100, possibly thousands of years. And even indications that parts of that cave system were used sort of as a school.
No.
Where there were imitations being done by multiple artists of a similar style, and innovations like speed lines to indicate that something, that a horse was in motion.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. There's a fantastic Werner Herzog documentary about it.
Yes. Does it also do with the fact that some of them seem to be deliberately blurry in order to generates the impression of motion when viewed
that's-
by the flickering light of a torch or
Whoa.
a candle. Yes. And they have been completely scanned and copied because only scientists are allowed in there. But they built an entire replica of it and basically as a museum that people now can walk into.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so that's of course, only scientists are allowed there because it's very fragile and,
Yes.
humidity, everything will, it'll start wiping it out. So we don't want that. But people still want to look at it. So,
No,
yeah,
of course. That's
the
great.
replica can be visited.
That's awesome.
Which, in fact, is what Hoshi and Trip are doing here.
They're taking photos.
Yes,
They're
although
studying
they're
everything.
being very. I mean, is film precious in Enterprise? Because take a photo of that one. No, why are you not you're documenting this?
Yeah, why don't you
photograph
have
everything.
Like a Insta 360
But even
just
then-
on
and even
on
if you
top
don't
of your head?
have that, then you just you photograph everything. You don't go, let's take that one. Looks a bit like Odo. It's kind of like a figurehead over the doorway.
You mentioned Odo. What are we looking at, actually?
So I don't know. It's like I said. There's over the doorway. There seems to be a figurehead, and that's kind of
one of the carvings.
yes.
Right.
Well, I think this says tall guys are popular.
So
Yes, that's...
all right. So
Hang on.
You're a budding linguist.
Oh yes,
Let's get a shot of that one.
Flashy.
exactly.
Not a single biosign on the planet. They're wondering what happened to everyone. But they get interrupted by the captain.
Who tells them to GTFO.
Yep. They say they've no way of telling how many more temples there are, but
I'm afraid you're not going to find out today.
because that storm is moving in a lot faster than they anticipated.
And not only that, there's a second storm coming in, which is pushing the first storm even faster.
Yep.
So some strange meteorological patterns there, but yes, normally that's like a process that takes hours or days, not minutes, but
Yep. Well, also, it's because...
It's pushing the first storm through these mountains at twice the speed it was moving a few minutes ago.
They're diamagnetic storms, Captain, saturated with polaric energy.
we don't know what they are, but they are very dangerous and they might kill people or at least disable shuttles. And Hoshi is pleading to let them stay in the temple.
But sir, these buildings are over 4,000 years old. I'm sure they've survived hundreds of these storms.
But no, the captain insists, we are going to transport you up to the ship.
Uh-huh. And she's still trying to negotiating.
Out inside the shuttle, polarize the hull plating.
That would most likely attract.
Yes, exactly.
So, a little bit of bickering over who goes first, and like how dangerous it is, and like, trillions of atoms which need to be reassigned and put back in the right place.
Yep, that's an awfully big
Jigsaw puzzle.
Pretty big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
What if some of the pieces get put in the wrong place? You know, I bet a lot of them look real similar.
It's safe. That's good enough for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he speaks like a chief.
in all honesty, I think that like if you want to stay with that analogy, I don't think a jigsaw puzzle is particularly a good representation. It's more like a paint by the numbers or one of those bead paintings that you make. Because if it doesn't matter if it's like, as long as a carbon atom goes where a carbon atom should be, it's fine. They're interchangeable.
Yeah, but its charge and vector should ideally also be the same of the whole molecule that it's a part of.
Well, yeah, of course, but
Things are in motion, certainly if not all molecules get
true.
absorbed
But
at
it sounds
the
a
same
lot.
time.
It sounds a lot simpler as long as you just have to get all the molecules, the atoms in the right places.
I
And
wonder if
molecules.
it's a one at a time thing, or if it's, if we just blast a bunch of data in this area, it sort of figures itself out, whether it's an emergent restructuring phenomenon.
Who knows? The transporter itself is definitely a one at a time thing because they have to be done.
They only have the one pad.
They have done one pad, and it's still.
and it's not huge.
Oh, it's quite big actually for a single person thing, but yeah.
I know, but you'd struggle to get like a packing pallet on top,
Oh, yeah,
let
yeah,
alone
yeah.
like a cargo container.
Well, that's what they have the central pad for in the next generation.
Oh yes, which we very rarely see used.
Yeah, but occasionally. So Sato goes second.
Yes, because
Okay, but you go first, and if you get to Enterprise in one piece, I'll be right behind you.
Fair enough.
he
Welcome to the
agrees.
club. How do those molecules feel? All in the right place?
And cue to the
The opening credits,
credits.
which I didn't even get a chance to think
I know.
about before you before you and you said that you were being considerate, but I'm starting to wonder whether you're using me as a shield.
Oh, is that a challenge?
It's not a challenge. It's just a genuine question. No, it's just a genuine question from one friend to another.
I actually like the song.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
Press F to doubt, or X, or whichever one it is.
I just think it sounds like a generic Bryan Adams song,
Yeah.
So it's like, so there's nothing wrong with that.
And
okay,
I
won't say
it was once.
It doesn't bother. I mean, it's like it's a generic song. It's just like 80s radio. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Like you expect
more like 90s, but yeah,
like Phenomenon with John Travolta, which was totally not like a Scientology promotional campaign.
Yeah. After the credits, Hoshi is doing her skincare routine, and she's like looking a little blemish, which seems to be in a weird spot. At least that's what we hear her say later.
Yeah, do you know what I read? That this is maybe what the title is about, because the
Vanishing Point.
The Vanishing Point.
Well, it doesn't vanish. It's just like it moved by about a centimeter. Yeah. But yes, Archer comes in to check up on her if everything's okay, and she's like, "Oh,
Well, I assume you and Trip will want to finish your survey tomorrow, weather permitting.
Sir?
You left a shuttle pod down there, remember?
I'm now having a really weird experience where when we just watched it, literally minutes ago, I didn't remember the ending. So that was really surprising to me.
Yeah.
And now I'm going through it again knowing that, we're already in her sort of hallucination.
Yeah.
Because it turns out everything that happens until pretty much the last 2 minutes didn't happen and is just like some...
It's just her,
weird brain effect.
Bad dream that occurred in the pattern buffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then why is she dreaming specifically this? Like, there's a recurring theme of not being on time or being late or being forgiven, and one of many.
Being ignored.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things that she probably...
I guess, just general insecurities. But that's how... All dreams in general and bad dreams in specific. They kind of feel like piece together things which happen in real life. I mean, I've noticed it myself. So certain dreams I have, they're I wouldn't call them recurring dreams, but they take place in certain locations.
Yeah.
So occasionally a dream that I'm back at my old university, and it's consistent between dreams, but not exactly the way it is in real life.
Of course.
And I've got occasionally I'll dream I'm out skiing, and it's not any specific ski resort. It's
but it's all of them.
But it's always the same. But it's always the same resort.
Oh, interesting.
Geographically speaking, it's always more or less the same. So, yeah.
And if anyone listening to this thinks, "Oh, I bet Kaki and Kay would like to know about my dreams," yes, that's absolutely true. But you can just sort of tweet at them at random accounts. Like, it doesn't have to be specific, and let's see if it finds its way.
Unless you've been dreaming about a specific Star Trek episode and you would like to talk, you'd like us to talk about that one, then we do want to hear. And there's a form for that. You can go to sofarscape.com/forms.
No, not the right website, not the right link. We're not doing Sofarscape. It's Joy Trek that we're doing.
Shit.
Who's in the pattern buffer now, bitch?
Flashback to the wrong podcast.
/links. Yeah, it's honestly, I wonder if 10 years from now that'll be us. You won't be dreaming about ski resorts anymore. It'll just be the one continuous podcast that we've done. Cover my ass. Sofarscape, Joy of Trek, Rebel Air with the chief. Let's mix and match. But yeah, okay. So Hoshi, should we be psychoanalyzing this? Is this being generated by her mind, or is it being generated by the machine?
Ooh, we don't know.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm going to pretend it's just like a dream. It's just
okay. You're on Team Dream.
Yeah.
I'm going to then be on Team Technology.
Okay.
So how is the transporter reorganizing her experiences? Or maybe this is even happening because the transporter is just adding one neuron at a time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the captain neuron has just been added, and his empathy neuron,
okay, I see what you mean,
right, has been activated. So now she can remember the captain being kind and considerate.
But why would that be?
Well, this is akin to one of the hypotheses, or maybe even scientific knowledge about how dreaming works. Like there are areas of your brain that are not active, which really should be active in order to explain what you experience. Stuff like recognizing faces. Well, the part of your brain that usually does stuff when you're recognizing someone's face clearly isn't very oxygenated, so you're probably not like pulling up memories.
Right. Huh.
So how do you know that Kevin Bacon is your dad when he clearly looks like Kevin Bacon, right? And maybe that information is added later or whatever. But like in this case, I'm choosing to imagine that this is being dreamt by, say, 17% complete reconstruction of Hoshi's brain at this point, and she's heading up to 18.
Well, you'd expect that the story would be more structured, but I mean, argument that I would be giving is like, in which at first might seem like it's a cinematic choice, is like how the cuts between scenes. But I think like I'm going to see it much more as if that's actually only what happens. Like you know how in a dream,
absolutely. You walk through the door.
Yeah, things jump from one thing to the next, and especially
Much
with her
like in cinema.
waking up and coming too late, and that's just actually how there's actually nothing in between. Like all the implied parts in between, which you normally fill in your own mind, because that's how a TV program is made.
Yeah, of course.
They're not actually here. This is what we see is what we got.
All right.
That's all that happened. All right.
So the mess hall neuron activates.
Yes.
And now she's in the mess hall.
And this is again a recurring theme. She seems to be kind of invisible. Like she walks up to people and like.
Anyone sitting here?
Vulcan would see right through that.
But that's what you said, though.
She gets ignored until she.
Is anyone sitting here?
No, please.
Yep. Malcolm, Travis, and Trip are deep in conversation. They're having jokes. Which
I think a Vulcan would see right through that.
But that's what you said, though.
Is anyone sitting here?
No, please.
And she really has to assert herself in order to be noticed.
And they like immediately start quizzing her, like, "Oh, what's it like? How was it? How did it feel?" And she's already expressing concerns.
It's not the storms. It's the transporter. I don't feel like myself since I went through it.
Trip blames it on the storm.
Yeah.
But
I mean, 3 of the 4 people here have been through the transporter before. Travis is the only one who hasn't been transported.
Right.
Because Trip was he went ahead of...
Yes, he was the first one. I guess the helmsman was also been through?
No, not the helmsman.
Oh.
Reed, Malcolm Reed, the security officer. Oh, sorry. No, Travis Mayweather, the black fella.
Yes.
He's the helmsman.
Yes. So, but he has been through?
No.
Okay, so yes, okay. But yes, and they bring up the famous...
You mean Cyrus Ramsey?
which apparently is one of the first test subjects who disappeared.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, too, like the season 4 episode that also deals with the transporter, where the inventor of the transporter comes aboard, and there's a plot line where he's, racked with guilt over the loss of someone dear to him in a transporter accident during the early experimental phase. And I wonder, what was their name again? Was it Ramsey?
Cyrus Ramsey?
Wait,
yeah.
What was it? But as we find out, no, that is not the case. This is just made up.
That's a shame.
So I wonder which neuron got activated where the name Cyrus Ramsey came from.
I mean, it's clearly not a name that she recognizes.
Yeah, because they're telling all these ghost stories, which is apparently like something that everybody hears about when you go on survival training.
Which is like a complete weird segue that they then go into, like where they start telling about where each of them went on survival training. It's like Death Valley and Alice Springs and all over the place. And like not something that actually goes anywhere. It's just like random talk that's thrown in there.
And talking to each other and not with her.
Yes, and they start, and when the archer then contacts them, then it's they all get up and walk away, and they don't even say anything to Hoshi, no hello, goodbye, or anything. They just wander off.
Even Archer, who doesn't know that she's there.
Well, I don't think Hoshi will be joining you.
Yes, I need a pilot to bring the other. Which, I mean, he's got a good point for that. Like, we know that Hoshi is not an experienced pilot.
Yeah.
Well, we had the episode from season 4 where Trip turns ill and she has to fly the shuttle in.
And she's like,
her
first docking.
Well, in theory, I know what to do. It's like, it went all right in the simulator.
She walks into sickbay.
Yes.
And she doesn't see the doctor at first.
She
and then
peeks into the niche of the side and she turns around and then, again, it's like in a dream, the doctor is suddenly standing behind her.
I just looked in there. Were you in there? Did you hear me come in?
I was feeding my leeches.
I'm right here, Ensign.
Yeah.
I'm right here, Ensign.
And he's being so helpful while he's carrying around his little jar of leech food.
Yes, or leeches, you don't know that.
And he, too, thinks that maybe the storms rattled her.
Yes.
Sort of, I guess maybe, is this mansplaining?
Ooh.
Like the subjective experience from, a young woman. She's one of the lower ranked officers.
Yes.
And less experienced in Starfleet. She's had a whole career outside of Starfleet, of course. But this is maybe something that she has to deal with on her.
Right. Well, again, the storm aspect, that could be either the dream or the machine. Because it could be the machine which is actually being disturbed by the storm, which is causing the problem, the buffer underrun problem that they're having. Or it could be just Hoshi being worried about the storm affecting the transporter.
Or it's the machine trying to reorganize her brain so that she's really pro-transporter. Like the transporter just really wants to be used. And I think I'll just edit your memories to think that this is pleasurable. Because actually, like when you get beamed over, you feel getting ripped apart. It hurts the whole time, but I'll just mute the screams and erase those memories.
And forget about that,
yes. Yeah, there we go. Solved.
It's like a little bit like, what's that movie called again?
Total Recall.
Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking about, but... No, it's where a magician has David Bowie invented a transporter machine.
Oh, The Prestige.
The Prestige,
Nolan.
yes.
Yeah. Oh.
With David Bowie as
Tesla.
Yes.
Amazing. An amazing role.
Yeah, fantastic film too.
Oh, he was also cast as Neander Wallace in Blade Runner 2049, but regrettably he died before that could come to pass.
That's a shame, yes.
Kaki, this is such whiplash for me because you're going from one of my favorite movies of The Prestige, which is just beautiful. And I knew exactly what you were talking about right away, Kay. I was so proud of you. I was so happy because I knew exactly what you're talking about. And then you gave me whiplash, Kaki, by then just jumping right into that we could have had David Bowie instead of Jared Leto in Blade Runner 2049. And I'm just imagining how different that could have been so cool. That could have been so man, that's... I'm literally just like stuck here thinking about like what that would have looked like with replacing Jared Leto with David Bowie in that movie. That could have been so cool, man.
Even Cyrus Ramsey is known by Phlox.
Oh, yes.
Don't tell me they talk about him on Denobula.
Oh, I spent nearly 9 months on Earth, remember?
He does completely take her seriously. He does grab his scanner when she says she doesn't feel right. And...
Yes.
It would take me a while to account for every molecule, but you appear to be in one piece.
Yeah, she comments on the birthmark, which is dismissed a little bit by the doctor.
Well, it looks lovely where it is now.
Yeah, which is also a recurring theme. Like he says...
If I were you, I'd get a good night's sleep.
And I think later Trip says the same, and everybody keeps sending her to bed.
Yeah, maybe she's just tired from like having worked the entire day and going through the ruins. And
do you know, this is actually fascinating. Like watching it, you sort of feel let down because you want an explanation that explains the specific individual things that happened previously, and like you've got this whole collection in your mind, and then they turn out to all not matter. But what about these recurring themes? Like, why are they recurring? Why is everybody sending her to bed? Why is everybody assuming that it's the storms?
Yeah.
They're all mansplaining and talking over to her. Like, this is actually really kind of distressing to think about.
Oh, yes. I mean,
is she doing this to herself?
It's like, basically her identity, well, not her identity getting, but her presence being erased. Well, maybe she's just like insecure.
Who isn't?
Yes.
I recently saw a wonderful picture on Twitter, and it was some sort of board meeting with a giant, I think, fruit-shaped mascot suit there, sitting there as well, which I think was clearly like a demonstration of this mascot. But he had his gloved arms folded, so it sort of looked like he was there. And like, this is what imposter syndrome feels like.
So yes, she gets woken up by the comms, like you're needed on the bridge.
1100 hours, that's impossible. My shift starts at 0800.
Then nobody bothered mentioning that, or again, like implying that she was
late for school.
Right, that too, but also that nobody noticed that.
Uh-huh.
There's like, oh, yes, well, she's just unimportant, which is kind of like mirrored in the rest of that scene.
That's another good point.
Tucker and Mayweather have been taken hostage. Trip got off a short message, but we haven't heard anything in the last hour.
Taken hostage by who?
The people down there didn't like you disturbing their ruins.
And they are trying to like open communications, open Hey You frequencies, and she can't get the Universal Translator to work.
Yeah.
Why don't you just try talking to them?
Yeah, for some reason the machine just won't work, despite the fact that we hear all these examples of that language. And she keeps trying to get the captain to keep him talking. And he says, yeah.
It's not going to get much better than that.
And then why don't you just try talking to him? Yeah, what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
Neither I nor the machine. That's not how anything works. Yeah, just talk to them. I don't know what an article is. I haven't gone through their phonemic lexicon.
Exactly.
What do you expect?
She tries to apologize for oversleeping, which is not even acknowledged that she says it.
And then she's replaced. So she's sent to bed again, this time by the captain.
Yep.
Gets some rest, and Ensign Baird gets assigned to the comm.
Yes.
Do you think Ensign Baird exists?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Have we seen that actor before?
No, and I think Ensign Baird also only occurs in this episode, adding to the mystery.
Right. Well, that makes sense then. Yeah, she was just an invention of her. Like maybe, again, insecurity that she's like going to be replaced by some rando.
What if everything that happens in Enterprise from here on out is all inside her snow globe mind? Like in, what was it?
And she is the next Millie Ray Cyrus who disappeared and like.
Wait, what? Miley Ray Cyrus? Oh, Cyrus, yes, Cyrus Ramsey. Yes, the famous like transport voyager Billy Ray Cyrus.
So yes, again in her quarters,
taking another shower.
No, that's the only shower she takes.
Yes, but this is she's once again in her robe.
Yeah,
as she was just immediately after being transported.
Yes.
The repetition is pretty, like, astounding, actually.
Yeah. She startles when the mirror fogs up.
That's a really good effect.
Yes.
Because it fogs up everything, but it does look like she's vanishing just a
little
bit.
You can't quite tell.
It's really subtle. It's really well done.
And when she stands in the shower, suddenly, she goes a little bit more transparent and the water falls through her and then bounces off her hands again.
And we see her worrying. Like, a lot of this show is actually just carried by Grace Park.
Oh, yes.
Her reactions to her environment. And I think she does a great job subtly building it up. Because she has to whiplash back and forth from these scenes of real worry and then back to a low-stakes scene in the mess hall.
Well, again, same. Lots of mirroring here from the previous scene. She asks T'Pol.
Sub-Commander. Ensign, would you like to join me?
That she keeps reading her book.
Yeah, and Hoshi goes, well, I thought you would have been on the bridge. And T'Pol says, nope.
The hostage situation was resolved. They're back on board.
And the other ensign, he got the UT working. No
Simple
problem.
Bimodal syntax. And she's so frustrated.
It's impossible. I ran every linguistic algorithm.
I really tried my best. I did my homework. I know I had, didn't I? But like, mechanical failure is also a feature of dreams, right?
Yes, often.
Because our primitive brain just doesn't really believe that machines should be working. So when it tries to generate a simulation of the real world, that probably doesn't work. That probably doesn't do anything.
But yes, and more in the...
Captain Archer has asked that you remain off duty for the time being. Crewman Barrett has been placed in charge of communications.
Yeah. Crewman. Is that an
Barrett.
Additional rank in addition to ensign? I don't think we've had crew people before. But oh well. The sort of blanking gets worse because as she's walking through the corridors of the Enterprise, like she passes by people whom she addresses by name and they just walk right on past her.
And the equipment, speaking about equipment malfunction, like the doors stop responding to her. Like
yes.
The door controls or the turbo lift controls are not responding and she kind of has to rely on someone else to push the button who also completely blanks her. So.
Yep. Oh. And shortly before she hears some voices.
Yes, I noticed that. Like occasionally there's like little things, little snippets of sound.
What?
Yeah, like that.
In the background, yes. She goes to see Phlox again.
Yep. Where she immediately asks,
can you see me?
Yeah.
and he says, is there something in particular you'd like me to look at?
Yes.
Something's wrong, Doctor. Something's very wrong.
But yes, he reassures her that she is neither transparent nor porous.
Yep.
And,
and the sickbay doors responded when you walked inside. And he points out something very, very valid, that transporter technology is very new.
Yes. And he wouldn't catch him in one of those things.
Well, humans were equally frightened when the automobile was introduced, or the airplane.
Yep.
because new forms of transport take a while to get used to.
He offers her a sedative, which she declines, but does tell her to come back in the morning. So I guess he is still of the take 2 aspirins and see me in the morning kind of.
Oh, yeah. The first time that a sedative is mentioned.
Yes.
But it'll recur again. Because after that, she goes to the gym.
Where Trip is doing the spinny thingy.
Yeah, what is this for?
I have no idea. I mean, that's the implication that it's some sort of exercise, but...
He's in a 3-axis gyroscope in his skivvies.
Which you usually see in carnivals and stuff, where people get to stand in and get thrown around a little bit, just like...
Is it a balancing exercise? Are you supposed to balance?
Maybe. It's just like spatial orientation. I guess it's, I don't know.
In Battlestar Galactica,
weird.
Famously, they had, instead of rings, they had octagons, obviously, because it's Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Which they were all spinning around just to make someone real dizzy. And then they put a gun in her hand and had her shoot at a target while they all laughed. And laughed and drank.
Wasn't that like an exercise for the new pilots or something? I don't know.
Yeah, where Kat broke Starbucks record.
Yes.
And he also is concerned with Hoshi. She's, of course, relieved to see that Tucker's back on board.
Yes. Again, he'd be kind of like poo-pahs his whole experience.
As soon as the captain promised to give them their stuff back, they walked us to the shuttle pods, and away we went.
Yeah, apparently that's what they wanted. Or that's what she imagines the aliens who lived there would have wanted.
Yes.
Or that's what the transporter wants her to think. There's so many layers to this, Kay.
She did bring the samples in the transporter, so the transporter's like desperately trying to figure out, shit, what I'm going to do with this. It's like, oh, no, don't.
Is this my fault?
Don't mix it up with the rest. Like, I have to.
Oh, whoa. Okay, so not only are Universal Translators all sentient once they're active, you think transporters are also sentient and just desperately trying not to Tuvix
things up, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, poor little guys. So she does some exercises with just these pull ropes.
She's kind of half-assing the workout.
And all the equipment insists on making space-age electronic noises.
Yes, it does.
They're just ropes and strings.
Yes.
It's fine. You don't have to everything string compute.
But she tells him that, like, of her experience.
I saw my reflection become transparent. I saw water pass right through my hand. I'm not convinced that the transporter put me back the way it's supposed to.
How many takes do you think that they made Tucker do of this? And how much fun do you think that he was having after the first 25 minutes?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that most of his voice thing is being dubbed in later, so.
Oh, yes. So you can't hear him panting.
Exactly.
You can't
Grunting. Every time he flips over, he gets banged in the side by that restraint bar. And
that too. But he says that...
If I were you, I'd ask the doc for a sedative.
Again, sedative, yeah.
Yeah, nothing like crawling into bed.
But no, more scenes of her hands passing through things.
Yeah, now she can't pick up the... What are they?
I think they're like the ghost traps from...
from Ghostbusters. Yeah. No. Yeah, but... Are they maybe weights? They have
I think so,
four handles on them
and
a red self-destruct button?
Supposed to be, yeah. She sees herself fading out in the mirror.
Yeah, a really good effect. Because there's even something in front of her.
Yeah.
That remains. Like, it's really, really well done. And the door doesn't despond.
Oh, yes. And she can't get out. So she just decides to go take a nap.
Yep. She's not putting her uniform jacket back on, which she had previously. She is
using it as a pillow, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And finally, she's rescued.
By Trip and Paul.
Thank God you're here. I've been stuck in here for hours. The door control isn't...
She was here last night. Right over there.
But nothing.
And they just completely blank her.
She is just not there still. And turns out they're actually looking for her.
Yeah.
No sign of her yet.
And they've been searching everywhere, but, well, we'll need to keep searching. But Dr. Phlox has something that he wants to share with
this is quite an interesting scene. I only just noticed this because this scene doesn't have her in it.
What do you mean?
The scene in the sickbay with the captain. Phlox.
So it appears until the camera turns and she's sitting in the background.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good fake out.
It is because it's trying to throw you off the scent of what's going on. That it's all from her perspective.
Yes, And then you think very briefly that because you see her running through the door as it closes behind Paul and Tucker. But yeah, Phlox is very worried.
I believed that was the source of her anxiety. She was convinced her molecules hadn't been reassembled properly. I should have taken her more seriously.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's a problem with the transporter. It's like the secondary phase coils were not aligned properly.
Yep.
Not perfectly synchronized.
And then the resequencing would start to dissipate. Within hours, she'll lose molecular cohesion. And Tucker starts something interesting. He's doing self-recrimination. You know, he says he wishes it happened to him, but he is sort of blaming her.
Oh,
why didn't you listen is what he keeps saying.
Why didn't you listen to... Yeah. I mean, yes.
Right? He's doing self-recrimination, and this is how a lot of people phrase it. I'm at fault. I wish you hadn't, made that choice so that my fault wouldn't have affected you like that. But really, like, knowing that this is in Hoshi's head, or no, hold on, that's your hypothesis. My hypothesis, it's the transporter.
Head, yes.
It's the transporter that blames her for going second. Like, if you'd gone first, like, the only reason that this went wrong for you, Hoshi, is because you sent him through first, and he had Chipotle for breakfast. So I had a lot to do, and I was still working on him when you were coming through. I was still a little bit discombobulated. So if you just gone through first, you just had nori salad.
Yeah.
It was fine.
There's some theorizing that
if there was a loss of molecular cohesion, I'm afraid we shouldn't be looking for Hoshi per se.
What should we be looking for?
Subcellular residue.
And the captain instructs the helm to break orbit and resume course.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter where she is. I mean, it's like she's still on board the ship. Like, where they're physically, the ship is not really relevant, is it?
And now we get a scene that I think is probably like the least fair fake out that we get. Because in their search, they're in a
Jeffrey's tube or whatever they call it.
It's Phlox and Tucker crawling around, and they find subcellular residue. Just a little drop of it.
Yeah, a little green scoopy liquid.
Where you go, we're deep into this episode. That being there has to be a clue to what's actually going on, right?
Yes.
We should be able to figure it out from here, and we can't. Because there is no reason for that cellular residue to be there. There's no meaning to it.
No, exactly. It's but they still keep it because it's the last of her remains, whatever is going to be there.
Yes. Well, Phlox sort of dabs a little litmus strip to the...
Yes, and puts it in an envelope.
And
leaves the rest.
Yes! Yes! There's just a little teaspoonful, and he only absorbs just a little bit, and...
Captain Archer will want Hoshi's parents to have this.
What the fuck?
I know, right? Oh, well. Trip stays there, and he does a little bit of reminiscing. Again, at first, she thinks that...
You can see me?
Yeah!
But no, unfortunately...
And he goes through the reasons that why he shouldn't have let her stay behind.
Yes.
And once again, finishes with...
Now look what you've done.
Yes. Blame the victim. And now, it starts to get exciting, because she hears sounds, and she goes investigate, and what, if not, are there two aliens?
Yeah, mysterious, weird aliens who speak the language that she heard on the bridge, which was totally made up, because it's not a language that she's heard spoken before.
And they are placing bombs on D-deck.
Yeah.
But Captain still doesn't see her.
Yep, because she stays out of view from them, and she goes to report to the captain, who instead is notified that they've gotten in touch with Hoshi's father.
Yes.
And Archer does a fucking terrible job of telling this man that his daughter died.
Yes.
No, sir. Everything is not all right.
And you can see, and this is Keone Young, by the way. This is who played a Sato before.
Yeah.
We should point out.
Another Sato, yes.
In Star Wars Rebels,
yes.
Yeah. Because, like, he keeps asking, okay, and why are you...
And what does that mean? Yeah.
Right, it was approved for biomatter. Okay, are you referring to produce...
What are you referring to? Produce or people?
Yes, exactly. No. I'm just trying to explain that Starfleet told us it was safe. Oh.
So, Hoshi is safe?
No,
well,
she's dead.
That's the point that I was trying to get to.
Yeah, wait, what the fuck? And oh no, he doesn't even say it at this point. He says, "I fought to get Hoshi on this mission," and
she's become a member of our family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, family. It's like
we're family, not you. So you called me out of a delightful breakfast that I was having to tell me this has become part of your family. Why are you calling? Yes, what is this? Oh no, she's dead. She said, "No, it's not weird. Your daughter's dead."
He's still, yeah.
What the hell?
Maybe you should have talk about burying the lead. You know, it's like,
oh no. That should have been the name of this episode. Okay. And finally he gets it.
You are saying Hoshi is dead?
Now that I know that's what you're trying to communicate to me.
This entire conversation starts to make a little bit more sense. Yeah.
And I can start to process it, but maybe you can call back later.
Yes. Hoshi, in the meantime, notices that she can only move through walls, but also that she can affect electronic circuits.
Yes, she's Patrick Swayzeing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Very good. Yes.
Yes.
Ghost, I believe. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Which was one of the titles. Hey, Chief. Back when we were starting what became Rebel Air, where we discussed Star Wars Rebels about the crew of the Ghosts, is what the ship was called, we were going through some various titles.
That's what it does.
Yeah. And one of the titles that I proposed was Rebel Scum, except you move the space over one, so then it's Rebels...
Right.
Right? And the other one was, I don't know why, but I proposed that we name our Rebels podcast Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. And just
that's going to confuse Google.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the band called The Other Favorites.
Oh, yeah. Utterly ungoogleable.
Yes.
Or the proposed follow-up to What We Do in the Shadows by Taika Waititi, which was going to be about the werewolves, which would have been titled We're Wolves, apostrophe-R-E. Wolves.
Wow.
So she's figured out that just holding her finger through this panel lets her make a little light blink and chirp.
And make a little sound, yes.
And she holds her hand up, sort of staring at the captain, who gets a little bit irritated.
That's right. It's not supposed to be making that noise, is it?
Listen, you can hear it.
SOS. SOS, it's a call for help.
Sending out an SOS.
That's the police.
Very good.
Message in a bottle. So he calls into Paul to come listen to it.
Yeah, listening to the pattern.
And she has no idea what she doesn't know what Morse code is, but he explains it to her. It's a distress call, and now it's changed. And unfortunately, he doesn't know that much of Morse code. Yes,
he recognizes because she changes her signal, and he recognizes. Oh,
it's changed.
Oh no, he doesnness recognize it. That's Hoshi trying.
Hoshi whispering it out. So yeah.
Yeah, and he coasted through.
All he knows is that I guess it's not something they teach you in Starfleet, which doesn't exist yet at this point. But Morse code is generally, I think it's not even required anymore to get your ham license these days.
Right.
It used to be, but it's gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, it's just such a convenient science fiction and horror trope that there will be people who remember Morse code when you have a very contrived invisibility.
Yes. There's more bomb setting. The guys on the move from D-Deck, and they figure, we haven't really used the engineering section of the ship enough, so they're very stealthy. They manage to climb on top of the warp reactor and not be seen by people who are standing right in front of it.
So I was thinking at this point, before I realized...
Maybe they're also out of phase.
Maybe that's their stealth technology,
right,
and she was stealthed by mistake.
Exactly. I had a very similar thought.
I'm very sorry for implying that Hoshi Sato was stealthed by mistake. Yikes.
Oh, shit. Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, don't Google it.
Yeah,
no, nobody Google it. In fact, Chief, I never know whether he's going to leave stuff in.
Yeah, don't Google that. Let's just let Cocky, let his embarrassment kind of speak for itself there. We don't need to dwell on what this is.
Hey, by the way, I want to talk about some of the camera work in this episode. Because it's something that Enterprise did way, way, way more than the other Star Trek shows. Just keeping the camera moving and moving it around the scene, letting characters walk out of rooms into the next corridor and just following them. And really, instead of relying on editing, just trusting that these sets are really well designed. There's practical lighting everywhere. And as long as you hit your marker, you're going to look gorgeous. They had lightweight, steady cameras.
Yeah, so they could, I guess they did a lot of handheld shots then. Huh?
Yeah, and doing a lot of verticality as well. I noticed that in the shower. Once they get in the shower, the camera raises up and peers down at them.
Yep.
Really, really fantastic equipment. Oh, but yes, because the captain has dismissed the SOS as, oh, it must just be a little bit of a glitch.
Yeah, whatever.
So Hoshi's on her own. She can't count on any help. It's up to her now.
But we learned that the aliens can't see her either, so that's...
Yeah, that one really confused me at this point. That was the second fake out that I thought was kind of unfair.
Yeah.
But she's trying, right? She finds what she assumes to be the bomb control device that's on the floor. Patrick Swayze fingers it.
Yeah. She actually gets it messed up because it's like briefly turned off. But the alien notices it, grabs it, and jumps onto their own transporter pad.
Yes.
Which they kind of just like throw out. It's kind of like an inflatable pillow. They kind of just chuck it on the ground. And it turns into
I was assuming it was a cloaked transporter pad that he had a remote control, but I like yours better.
Possible, yeah.
Maybe he has a little portable transport buffer.
Oh yeah.
Wait, hold on. You've got a portable transport buffer that creates a transport pad.
Sure. It's kind of like
you have beaming.
It's kind of like Baron Munchausen it, but
yeah, exactly. But also like you have beaming technology that fits in your wrist, but you still need to stand on a pad.
Yeah.
You know, my hypothesis is this is the transporter's subconscious that we're looking at.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And it just loves the idea, what if I could beam myself?
Oh, that would be great, yeah.
Right?
Infinite distance. You can just bunny hop your way across the galaxy.
And we hear some more voices.
Come on, Hoshi. Come on.
And it's as easy as 1, 2,
3.
Because at this point, Hoshi has jumped on the alien's teleport pad, chasing after them.
Yes.
Or possibly escaping, actually?
Yes, one or the other. I mean...
You know, now I'm thinking about
I mean, she was probably trying to go for the control device, so I guess she was trying to follow them. Let's be charitable.
Yes, okay. Okay, no, I sort of like that. And she steps off, and it takes her a second to realize, because she's talking to... first of all, she's surprised that they can hear her.
Yeah.
Where are they? We've got to stop them.
Who?
You heard me? You can hear me. Do you see me?
And now, what do you mean? Which aliens? Yeah, the surface aliens. There's no aliens on the surface.
On the surface.
Yeah.
It's uninhabited.
What are you talking about? They kidnapped you and Travis. We've got to stop them.
Hoshi, the transporter was affected by the storms. I had some trouble reintegrating your matter stream.
Which is not something you ever want to hear.
No.
Some trouble.
Yeah, it's all right. It's too late. You know, it's already over. Hey.
You were sort of trapped in the pattern buffer, but only for a few seconds.
8.3 seconds, to be precise.
But everything is good. Everything is fine. She wants to check her mole if it's back on the right place. And
yeah, do you have a mirror?
And it turns out, like, I just don't want to be the next Cyrus Ramsey. And like
Cyrus who?
Yeah, nobody knows.
And also that, and well, as you say, we end in Phlox's. Just calling it sickbay isn't enough. There's got to be a better name for it.
Oh,
like
I don't know, the menagerie.
Oh yeah, the menagerie of the Physiker.
Ooh, very good.
Yeah. And of course, Malcolm Reed's recommending some new protocols. You know, that boy loves protocols.
He does. Yes.
He has a huge hard-on.
He has a protocol for everything.
Protocol
if there isn't one, there should be one.
He's suggesting we start compressing the transport beam.
And suggest that we start compressing the transport beam. Oh, wait, hold on.
If you don't mind.
Don't accidentally tap the juice.
Okay. We're still working out the technology.
Yeah.
And Hoshi Sato becomes the first person in Star Trek history
to have been stuck in a transport buffer?
To say the word beaming as a verb.
Oh, okay.
Well, I hope you don't plan on beaming me anywhere for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, canonically, at least. Well, not, chronologically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
But yeah, she's not particularly keen on doing it again.
And Archer shows that empathy that he's famous for, at least toward his crew.
Yeah.
Which is probably, maybe that's why that neuron was attached first.
Oh, yes, that makes sense, yeah.
Sounds like you overcame your fear.
It's all in my head, remember?
Does it matter? You were afraid of getting lost, afraid of disappearing, but you still climbed onto that platform, real or not.
Yeah, they wander off. Like Archer says that she overcame her fears by stepping on the pad and...
Let's go to the bridge.
Captain, if you don't mind.
Mommy, can I push the buttons? Mommy, can I push it? Yay!
And that brings us to
Oh.
the end of the episode.
I actually really like it when you do the sound effects.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So, in that case,
Ooh.
what do you think was?
So fucking cool.
Son of a... Okay, we'll get it. We'll get it. We are getting better at it, listeners at home. And hopefully the Chief has already made us sound way better.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we should stop talking about these technical snafus that the Chief has already solved for us, actually.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Chief.
You know, Kaki, it's totally fine, but there are times where it was actually a little more difficult because you just kept calling attention to it, which made it harder to edit around. Sometimes just like, hey, Chief, we're dealing with this. That's all, and then I can work with it. Just, I love you, Kaki. But yeah, sometimes you just make it a little more difficult. Just, you're good. You just trust me. I got your back. I always got your back. I'll always get your back to make you guys look good. Don't worry. Ignore what I'm doing to the replicators. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about why the food suddenly tastes funny.
I don't know whether I have it in me to praise the sort of creative swing of having It Was All a Dream episode.
Right.
Because I don't know.
It's an interesting new take on the concept.
I kind of want to know before... If I knew for sure that this was the decision beforehand... but in my research, I wasn't able to find any information that this was fully planned out, and not that it was kind of an ass pull when the writers couldn't piece it out together. Now that seems really, on the one hand, that seems really unlikely. On the other hand, this was the era of 26 episodes per year.
Yes, I mean it would have been much easier to go for an actual physical effect, and then the aliens show up. It would have been fairly easy to play straight. There'd have to be some sort of way to... The only thing that they have to do is find a way to undo it.
Well, yeah, but then the previous clues would have had to make sense, such as the subcellular residue, and like those would have had to be integrated.
Yes.
So mine's going to be Grace Park.
I was going to say
that. We could do the same one.
Because she carries it well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a whole episode carried on her shoulders, a lot of which, much like we actually just recently saw Macrocosm with Janeway doing that as well, carrying an episode where you really don't get to speak a lot.
Oh, yes.
And people don't react to you, which is hugely problematic as an actor.
Very much props to her. Double so fucking cool for Spark.
I guess maybe with a backup to Connor Trenier, who played Tucker.
Oh, yes, but he's fantastic always. So.
Yes, he is.
So, that brings us to the next item.
Captain's log, supplemental.
Oh. Okay, the consequence of you playing the sound effects is now I'm the one who has to answer first. Which is, I don't know that, is this what it's always like for you?
Yes.
Well, see, I actually know what mine is.
Okay, go on then.
And that's where Hoshi at the very end sort of records an encrypted personal log where she admits that, when I stepped on that alien transporter pad, it was not with the idea that I had to save the ship. I just realized this entire ship is dying.
Doomed and I am out of here.
I'm outski. I'm sorry, everyone. So I wonder if that's something that I should mention at my next promotion hearing or whatever.
Maybe put it on the goals that I'm working towards.
Not abandoning my crew to their deaths.
All right, and mine, since I'm still firmly on Team Dream, it's like
you're the dream team.
We won't go that far, but thank you. One of the scenes where she is working on. Actually, what got left on the cutting room floor. It's like when we get the scene on the bridge where she can't get the Universal Translator to work, and like when she gets up from her console and stands up, turns out that she's not wearing pants.
Yes, of course, and she left her pencil box at home.
And in truth and faith, nobody notices. So to stay.
Oh yeah, of course, it's just your own concern.
Exactly.
When you're okay. Well, no, hold on. Then I have to have a new Captain's Log supplemental, which has to be from the perspective of the transporter, which is all still doing this.
Yes.
Where, we are going for St. Elsewhere. Do you know what that reference is, by the way?
It's kind of like House before House.
And it had, crucially, a finale episode where we see the hospital once again, and we zoom out, and it's a snow globe on the bedside of a comatose boy. And all the doctors that we've seen in the hospital are like lumberjacks or family members.
Oh, right.
Or no, he's not comatose, but he's unresponsive. And they say, he just looks at the... He just looked at the snow globe all along, as if everything we've seen so far was a dream.
Just happened in the
which just happened in the mind of that. But interestingly, because St. Elsewhere had crossovers with other daytime television programs,
Yes.
that means that those are also in the mind of that boy. And at one point, like 20% of American television
was all in the head of
Yeah.
that. Very
So anyway, this is sort of a take on that, where we sort of zoom out from Hoshi, who's in Phlox's quarters, and we see that the entire Enterprise is just...
It's like a model ship. It's a model standing on Picard's...
No, not even that. It's way worse. It's just the void, and then there's this room inside it, and anytime she walks somewhere, the transporter beams a new room with new people around it, just sort of compensating for, I can't beam you back into reality, so I'm just going to keep beaming reality around you.
Oh, that's...
So you don't know...
That's even more horrific than the original.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome, everyone.
All right.
I'm trying a new strategy where I'm trying to make you enjoy weird episodes of Star Trek more by creating alternative episodes.
Make them even worse, yeah.
And I'm so glad that Kaki didn't get his way. Anyway,
indeed, because...
Next time on an all-new episode of Star Trek.
All right. So thank you, Lauren, for recommending Vanishing Point, and let's find out which recommendation our chief engineer has pulled out of the hat. And if you'd like to hear some clips from a future episode that was selected by you, then you can send a recommendation to joyoftrek.com/links, where, hey, you can also send us a little bit of help to keep the lights on at our Patreon, which is also there, joyoftrek.com/links. We sure could use the help with this fucking technology that I keep struggling with, but I will eventually get right. Now, let's see what the chief has selected for us next time. Here comes the first clue.
Are you telling me there's no water?
Okay.
Voyager Season 1, Episode 1 is a possibility. Because they had the whole scarcity of water that was immediately dropped afterward, much to Ronald D. Moore's chagrin. Next clue.
If there's one thing I've learned from you, it's that you don't quit. And I'm not going to quit now. I've seen you think yourself out of worse problems than this, and I'm going to think us out of this.
Think us out of this. So who's a quitter who does a lot of thinking?
Oh.
If there's one thing I know about you, so Data?
Don't know. It doesn't sound like Data. I mean, they're talking to Data.
If there's one, and also, who on Star Trek would hear, if there's one thing I know about you, it's you give up prematurely.
Yeah.
Right? Those are not...
No.
Not with the amount of workahol pumping into the atmosphere processor. All right, clue number 3.
What are you doing in such a filthy uniform?
Ooh, I don't know what it is, but I'm into it.
I'm starting to think Lower Decks, maybe, but...
Is it another dream?
Oh,
I didn't wash my uniform?
Ooh.
Oh, I envy you, Wesley Crusher.
Oop.
You're just at the beginning of the adventure.
Oh.
Oh!
Is that the Warpman episode?
I think that's exactly it. We've gone from Vanishing Point to possibly Vanishing Universe. It's the one that we're thinking of.
Wesley, you remember... I was always proud of you.
Oh.
Sounds like, yeah.
Is it the one where Beverly's in a shrinking universe?
Oh, that could be it. I think it's the one where Wesley, correct.
You're right. It's the Traveler.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, let's find out.
The episode is TNG 409, The Final Mission.
Okay.
I don't actually know which one that is. I have no idea. No. Okay, so I guess we get to find that out next week.
Maybe we will learn that it's only a dream because
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with your friends Kay and Kaki. Production and editing by your chief engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amore. Join us next time for The Final Mission, TNG 409. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us a recommendation, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.